Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show, sponsored by HM Company at draintroughs.com. I think you're going to like this episode today. Today, me and Carla are going to talk about modernized payment systems and when is the right time to switch, and when you do decide to switch, what are the parameters around that? And if you decide to switch, there are many different types of modernized payment systems out there. There's loyalty card systems and phone pay systems and even hybrid systems, which we use in a few of our stores and we recommend in certain scenarios. And so we're going to talk about the pros and cons of those. And then we're going to spend the latter half of the episode giving you all the meat and potatoes about when we did change. And one of our stores, full disclosure, we have taken Coinless, so we are not hybrid at that store, and we'll share with you how we did that and how we actually still kind of take coins, even though we're technically coinless. And we'll share with you how we do that and see if you can get some value out of that.
But before we get into the episode, we'd like to spotlight today the Laundromat Millionaire calendar of events. This actually came up in one of our community member chats, our coaching calls. And we had several members that were like, it would be so great if there was just one place we could go for all the different events going on in the industry. And so we took that advice and created the Laundromat Millionaire calendar of events for the laundry industry. So if you go to our website and then just click on services, in the dropdown, you'll see the laundry industry calendar of events. And from there, you can look at all the different in-person events going on throughout the US, some even in Canada. And then also there's a spot if you are a manufacturer or a distributor and you have some events, or even an owner that has events, there's also a link where you can submit your event to be added to the calendar. So definitely check out that resource, and let's go ahead and get started with today's episode on modernized payment systems. Credit cards, loyalty cards, phone pay, QR pay, app pay, like there's so many different choices.
Maybe you don't need to take it to the full modernized level.
Is it worth the investment? Our customer feedback has been phenomenal.
Yeah. And sales are up 18%.
So a big part of our platform is about modernizing the laundry industry, providing a better community service to all of your communities. And a big piece of modernizing your laundromat is also modernizing the payment systems. When we first got into the industry, almost everybody was still operating with those quarters. Since then, we've seen changes into dollar coins and changes into credit cards, loyalty cards, phone pay, QR pay, app pay. Like there's not only is it modernizing your payment system, but it's so many different choices of how to do it. Which one do you choose? How do you teach your customers how to use this new system? And how do you ensure that you don't turn customers away by switching? So it is a hot topic and one we're going to hit hard today. The first thing we want to talk about, though, before you even decide what system is for you, you have to decide if you're ready for a modernized payment system. Not everybody is. It's an investment. And if you have not invested in your laundromat to make it clean and safe and smooth operations, good customer service, a modernized payment system is not going to fix your laundromat for you. It is a wonderful feature to add to a modernized laundromat, but it alone is not going to fix your operations.
Yeah. Completely agree, Carla. One of the things I always like to tell people is I kind of silo out the type of stores that are in the industry sort of into three different categories. One of them is your zombie mats, which is pretty straightforward. Obviously, if you're running a zombie mat, you're probably not even watching this. But if you are watching, if you're running a zombie mat, you got a lot of work to do before you worry about the payment system. It is important. It will change your life, but it's not the first thing you want to do. Another category that I kind of put a lot of laundromats into is what I call plain Jane, meaning they're not zombie mats, they're not modernized, they're somewhere kind of in between. And they usually are okay, they're functional, they provide a good service to the community, but you could pretty easily compete with them if you wanted to. If you want to go into that market and build a modernized laundromat, it wouldn't be very difficult to compete with them. Now, sometimes you'll see these plain Jane laundromats in rural areas and, 20,000 person towns with one laundromat. And maybe you don't need to take it to the full modernized level, or even in rural communities. And sometimes like that, in situations like that, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to have a plain Jane laundromat that isn't technically modernized in all the modern ways and still put a modern payment system in there. And it can be good for you and good for the community. And that can be, that can be kind of an exception to the rule. But generally speaking, what Carla's talking about is right. It's all about the timing of, have you invested in the store? Do you have new or newer equipment in the store? Have you invested in your team if you're fully attended? By the way, modernized payment systems can be a great way to be unattended. If you're, otherwise can't afford the labor and payroll and things like that. And so all of these things are factors. You know your store, you know your competitors, you know your operations. You can ultimately decide what's better for you than not. But a few things that we consider and what we recommend our coaching clients consider is one of them kind of collections hassles, right? If you just have one store and you're collecting quarters or even dollar coins like once a week and it takes an hour and a half, do you need a modernized payment system? As far as collection is concerned, you probably don't. If you have 50 stores and you're still collecting quarters, it's probably a 60-hour-a-week job and you don't have time to do anything else, including having a life. So obviously in that case, those are two pretty big extremes, but I will say there's a lot, most of us fall in between those two categories, and that's where it can get a little sticky. Another thing is security. Modernized payment systems can a lot of times give you a lot of security that you might not otherwise have. And a lot of people watching this probably know this, but it's not exactly the most secure thing in the world for one single person to be wandering around a laundromat for an hour and a half, collecting cash, coins out of these money boxes, dumping them into, making all this noise. That can be pretty dangerous because, you're doing this, it's not quick. You're doing this for like an hour or two. Another one that I don't think we talk about enough is customer inconvenience. As our industry goes more and more into these large capacity machines, large dryers, large washers, things like that, even 40-pound machines. We charge $8 for our 40-pound machines nowadays. We're talking about a lot of quarters that go into machine just to start the machine before you even get over to the dryers or run other machines or things like that. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. In addition to, do you fall into the category of a zombie mat or a plain Jane laundromat or a modernized laundromat? But also there's other things of, you might have a modernized laundromat and just have one store. You might not have security issues. You may not have collection hassles. Your customers might not mind the inconvenience, especially if you've evolved from quarters to dollar coins, which we're not going to talk about much today, but we might talk about a little bit.
And the point of that is any modernized payment system might be an improvement no matter where you're at in your laundromat journey, but is it worth the investment? I think that's more what we're getting at. If you have a lot of things to fix in your laundromat aside from the payment system might not be your ideal investment right now. Yep. Not that the payment system wouldn't improve your laundromat, but it's just not your starting point. Same thing if you have a rather small laundromat and you're able, to collect once a week or once every 2 weeks. You don't really have the customer base to pull in enough revenue to warrant the investment in a modernized payment system because all of these do cost something as well. And so that's what we're kind of getting at. Whether you already have a laundromat or are looking to get into the laundry industry, everyone needs proper drainage. We use HM Company drain troughs. Their drain troughs were first created in 1991, and they have been the leading drain trough manufacturer ever since. They're made in the USA, and their drain troughs are fully customizable to meet your needs. That's why we've used them ever since entering the industry. They're easy to clean for our staff and plenty sturdy when we need to walk on them when servicing our washers. With the ability to span up to 25 feet, our troughs rarely need to be connected together, creating an easy installation. Want to slope your trough like we do? No problem. Just let the experts at HM Company know. For more information, go to their website at draintroughs.com. That is draintroughs.com. HM Company Drain Troughs. They've been leading the industry since 1991. Check them out today. Let's get into, one of the most confusing things, and if you were at the Clean Show this past year, I'm sure there were even some more out there, is all the different payment systems. And we would love to do an episode that dove into every payment system out there, but to be honest, there's new ones every day. We don't know all the payment systems out there. So we're going to really focus today on not certain brands, but on the different types of payment system and deciding what is best for you. And this is really about knowing your customer base and knowing your operations. If you're unattended, one option may work better for you, where if you're fully attended, another option you could go to. Or if you have a clientele that is resistant to change and resistant to not using cash. You might want to go, more the hybrid option or whatever, or resistant to apps, then you might want to stay away from the app options. But anyway, this is about knowing your community, knowing your client base, knowing your operations, and deciding what's best for you. But we will help give you some guidelines to help you in that decision. So first, let's just talk about the different types of payment options. There are loyalty cards. A loyalty card would be basically where your customers come in, and typically we recommend at least 2 kiosks in case one goes down. So you have a couple of kiosks, and from that kiosk, they purchase loyalty cards. Or I think there's even some, can't they purchase them from like a vending machine almost? The loyalty cards. But basically, they use cash or credit or debit cards and purchase a loyalty card. This is like a gift card, like that you give at Christmas or whatever. But it is a laundry card. And then from that, at your machines, they scan that loyalty card to pay for their laundry services. So that's the loyalty card system.
And by the way, before we move on, because we want to try to cover as much nuance as we can here, Carla, you talk about scan. I kind of laugh when you said that word.
Tap.
Some systems are still swipe, right? Okay. Which is an older type of technology. It's kind of going away, but those still exist. Some of them are EMV, where you insert the chip card right in the machine. Takes a couple seconds to read the chip. Now we're going to tap to pay. So we have the cards with the tap to pay. There's actually 3 different ways to even pay with a loyalty card.
Yes.
What do we talk about the nuances?
It's insane. All the choices. But so the next way would be app pay. There's some systems out there, and every type I'm telling you, there's systems that do multiple of these too. Like there's some that are loyalty card only, but then there's some that are loyalty card or app or whatever. So you can get who knows how many different mixes. But app pay would be where basically your customers download an app. And then from that, they can add money to their accounts, and they can even sometimes start the machine from their app. Or I don't know. I don't even know how all the different apps work, but it's basically where they download an app and work the machines.
Yeah, typically there's 2 types of apps out there, just to, once again, a little bit more nuance. One type of app is usually branded specific to that provider. So it might be the ABC laundry card system app, right? Type of thing. And they have to download that company's ABC loyalty card system. You have to put, signs in your store that say, hey, download this particular app. And then once you get in there, then you choose the location, you put in the address, and it'll say Queen City Laundry, but you have to use their branded app. There are other companies that actually have an app, but it's white labeled. And they white label the app for you. So it looks like in the app store, it looks like Queen City Laundry, but all it is the back end is all the same company, and they're just white labeling the front end for you. So there's even different types of apps out there. Just once again, wanted to point that out.
So we have loyalty cards, we have apps. Next, there's phone pay. So this is kind of similar to app, except they don't have to download an app. This would be like using their Apple Pay or their Google Pay. And this might look like we offer in our stores where they can scan a QR code on the machine, and then they can use their Google Pay or their Apple Pay or whatever to pay for their machine instead of inserting coins or inserting a loyalty card or inserting credit card or any of that. Yep. So any comments on phone pay?
No, pretty straightforward.
And then the last one, and this was one of the early ones we saw on the scene, and what you're probably most familiar with is the credit or debit card. This is where, you actually have a little thing attached to your machine where they can, again, it could vary, they can take their credit or debit card and they might have to swipe it, they might have to insert the chip, or they might have to tap, or maybe they can do all 3. I don't know. But that would be just their traditional credit debit card pay. So I think at least last we heard, those are all the different ways to pay at the machine.
Yeah. And just to point out a little bit further, when we talk about loyalty cards, those are obviously pay at the machine, but sometimes the loyalty cards interact with the apps. You can have a credit on the card, go into the app and start the machine. Some card systems, you can start the machine from the kiosk, right? You can put money in the kiosk, tell it to start machine number 32, hit start. And as long as the door is closed, it actually starts filling up with water, right? As an example. So there's even variances out there of those things. And we're not here to promote one particular brand or another. But what we are here to do is to share with you all the options that are out there and a lot of the nuances that are out there and some of the lingo.
One other way of pay that I think we did it's kind of a blend of these is using credit and debit cards. I know you focused on credit debit cards at the machine, but there's also credit or debit cards at a kiosk.
Yep.
And then from the kiosk, they start the machine. So even if they say it accepts credit and debit, you got to specify at the machine or at a kiosk.
Yep.
So that's another.
And that's determined by the reader that you buy. Okay. I'm going to try to give it all out there, Carla. That's determined by the reader that you buy. Like there are less expensive readers, couple $100, you put them on the machine and they have to take a loyalty card. That's the only way to do it, right? So you can't go up to the machine and do credit, debit card at the machine. You have to have a loyalty card. Well, how can you take a credit or debit card and put money, credit, on the card? Well, you have to go to a kiosk or go to the POS and go to the front counter.
Or go to an app.
Go to an app and you take money from your credit or debit card, which is, from your bank account or your credit card. You're putting credit on a loyalty card and then it spits out a loyalty card or they hand you a loyalty card. One of the things the reason I wanted to do an episode like this, Carla, is because I feel like, especially for newbies, but even veterans in the industry, if you've been taking coins for 25 years and you decide to dive into the world of, do I want to put a card system on my store? It's very overwhelming when you talk to the companies to even understand the lingo between, credit and debit cards. And sometimes the salespeople just say card. Oh, well, what they got to do is they got to take the card and go to the machine and start, are we talking about a loyalty card? Are we talking about a credit card? Are we talking about a debit card? Are we talking about tapping it or swiping it? and there is nuance to those and it does matter. And when you're spending $30,000 to $70,000 or more, in some cases on a card system, I think it's important to understand those things. So we're not going to get into specific companies today, but if you go of some of our past episodes and even some of our future episodes, we're having more and more guests and founders and owners of these particular card systems on the podcast. So by the way, if you're an owner, founder, CEO of one of these companies, we'd love to have you on the episode. We're not here to pick favorites. We're here to just share information with the industry and you can come on and share the nuances of your particular payment system. Hopefully we didn't confuse everybody.
Yes, I know that clear. What did they say? Clear as mud.
Yeah.
So those are all the options out there. So just navigating that and deciding what option is best for you, your community, your business, your clients, all that is a lot to figure out. So we're going to talk to you next about what we've decided over the years, what worked for us, how we came to those decisions, and the steps we took to make sure that those transitions were successful.
Would you like to make more money from your laundromat? Would you like those machines you're paying for to have more turns per day? Do you offer wash, dry, fold services or pickup and delivery laundry services? If not, would you like to? Whether you do or not, we have an amazing opportunity for you in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, you've probably heard about it, guys, but it's our wash, dry, fold, pickup and delivery workshop. And to answer your first question, yes, it is for drop-off laundry, wash, dry, fold, and pickup and delivery. So if you're doing any of those things, this workshop is going to help you tremendously. But the truth is, we were pretty so-so laundromat owners and so-so successful until we launched drop-off laundry and pickup and delivery. And being able to what I call optimize your laundromat to generate more profit and more revenue out of the existing facility, that's the key to taking your life from good to great, financially speaking, with laundromats. And that's what made us Laundromat Millionaires.
You don't have to just listen to us. Listen to what some of our past attendees have to say about our Wash, Dry, Fold Pickup and Delivery Workshop in Cincinnati, Ohio.
It was the best workshop I've attended in over 25 years. And what you guys have put together is nothing short of phenomenal. I think that you guys have put together both strategic and tactical systems that will make an individual who wants to own the laundromat profitable within months, not years.
Was a workshop worth the investment? Without a doubt, it was definitely worth the investment. So not only did we have two very packed days with Dave and Carla and their team, both in the classroom and touring the facilities, but we also came away with this extensive 100-page handbook. And then after the workshop was completed, I received a bunch of electronic performers and templates that we've been able to use since the workshop. Every day since the workshop, I've found myself referring back to either those electronic tools or the handbook that we received. So,
was it worth the investment? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I cannot say that enough. this was such a blessing, and I am so very grateful that Dave and Carla put this together and are sharing their knowledge and experience with others to have this to grow their business and to become more successful. Thank you, guys.
So are you interested? Go to laundromatmillionaire.com to learn more and see where you can register.
So the first thing we did, so first off, we've over time have had 5 different laundromats, 5 zombie mats that we've converted. We currently have 4. We closed one of them. So we have 4 different stores. All of them at purchase time were coin only, quarters only even.
Yep.
So our first transition was as the collections, honestly, that was the first thing. The collections were getting so much, and also just the annoyance for the customers having to put in so many quarters, losing count and thinking they put in enough and the machine wouldn't start. It was because they hadn't put in enough. So those things, the first thing we did was a switch to dollar coins. That helped a lot that lessened the amount of collections we had to do, because obviously our coin boxes could hold more money. So that helped with the collections. It also helped with the ease of the customer as far as putting so many items into the coin slot. That was our first transition. What year would that have been?
The first dollar coin store would have been 2015. So we're talking 11 years, almost 11 years ago now. And I want to share this information because I think it's important for us to be authentic. When we went from quarters to dollar coins, that was always designed to be a temporary measure. It was never designed to be forever and ever, because we were in our 30s back then, right? But we also believe that in 2015, it was probably a solid 10 to 15 years, maybe more, before the majority of society and the majority of the industry were willing to accept these card systems and things like that. The cost was also pretty high. There wasn't a lot of competition, which kept the cost up. Now there's more competition. We didn't have the phone pay. The technology was there, but not as smooth as it is today. There was a lot of factors in going from quarters to dollar coins. But at that point, we had 4 stores. All 4 were hopping. We're in the suburbs, so these aren't high volume stores, but they were hopping and pretty busy. I was still doing all the collections myself. We were starting to launch pickup and delivery, which was taking some of my time. So there was a lot of factors involved in it. You talked about the capacity of the money boxes and the capacity of the change machines and things like that. Those were constant issues where I would collect on a certain day and 7 days later try to collect again, and I would have to go in on day 5 because the money boxes were full and the 80-pound washers were jamming up with quarters, right, as an example. There was many reasons we did what we did. We couldn't stay at quarters, but we didn't really feel like our community was quite ready for cards yet. And that was part of why we made that investment. Full disclosure, in 2015, we weren't millionaires yet either. So, part of it was, it was a lot. It was not free, but it was a lot cheaper. Yeah, it was a lot cheaper of an investment to evolve from quarters to dollar coins than it was to buy a $50,000 card system for 4 stores. And we didn't have the $200,000. So that was a factor in it too.
So after we went to dollar coins, we did eventually get to a point where we were ready to try cards, but we didn't want to run off some of our clients because we weren't accepting dollars. We weren't accepting cash. So what we did was we went to the hybrid system, and that's probably the easiest transition. I consider hybrid as a very customer-centric, we accept everything approach. There's not a whole lot of transition to it. Just suddenly you make the investment, you add some card readers to the front of your machines. There's a bunch of different brands out there, and now you can start accepting those credit and debit cards. In addition to, you also still have the Coinless as well. So that was our first transition to a modernized payment system. It's just adding a card reader that did accept credit and debit in addition to coins at the machine. The next thing we added was QR codes. So this brought in the ability to phone pay. We added QR code stickers, and basically they could use that QR sticker and then pay with Apple Pay, Google Pay, or whatever they have set up on their phone. Next, we added Laundroworks, which is a loyalty card system. So as you can see, we didn't just evolve from one way of paying to the next way. We just kept adding ways to pay.
Yep.
So literally by this point, our customers could come in, they could use dollar coins at the machine. They could use credit or debit at the machine. They could use the QR code and do phone pay at the machine. or they could go over to our kiosk and get a loyalty card. So they had every option imaginable to pay. We joke, we'll take your money anyway, you'll give it to us.
Yep. And just so we're clear, part of the reason for making this slow evolution was we felt like our part of Cincinnati wasn't quite ready. So we thought, okay, if they still want to pay with coins, they can. If they still want to pay with a card, they can. You know, they kind of have their choice. Part of it was we hadn't fully committed to which company we wanted to go with. So we were kind of trying out a few different things here and there. We'd try something out and be like, there's pros and cons of this and that. There was some factors there. Part of it too was we hadn't converted all of our stores at one time. So we were trying to make the right decision for our entire chain of laundromats. But ultimately, the primary reason, if I give you all those secondary reasons, the primary reason was I really believe that if we were going to evolve away from coins, which had been, in the case of quarters, 40 years in Cincinnati, you know, the laundromat market in Cincinnati, I really believe that the approach we had to take was going to be a very gentle, delicate, the old wives' tale of boiling a frog, right? How do you boil a frog? Well, you don't put it in hot water, you put it in cold water and then slowly turn up the temperature. Mm-hmm. And so what I was trying to do is show the community, one customer at a time, that there was more than one way to do this and that coins were one of them. And so part of it was, if we put a hybrid payment system in, nobody's forced to adopt anything. But what's going to happen is you're always going to have some customers that think it's cool and new and want to use the new system. When we put the kiosks in the store, we started adding a bonus structure, which we'll talk about in a minute, so they can, put $20 on a loyalty card, get a $25 credit. So in that case, we were kind of incentivizing them. If they come in with cash, don't put it in the change machine. You only get $20. Put it in the card system, get a loyalty card, you get $25, right? Our belief was if we got enough people to do that, what they would learn is it was not only cheaper because they got a $5 bonus, but it was also easier, right? You all know it's way easier to just take a card out of a kiosk, tap it or swipe it or insert it or whatever and hit start on the machine. Takes 2 seconds, right? Versus the handful. For those of you that are listening on podcasts,
bring a cup.
Yeah, have a cup or something like that, or $50 worth of quarters and clink, 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 clink. Drop 40 of them in for a $10 washer or something like that. And so what we believed is we could get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of people using the modernized payment system. What would happen? You'd walk into a store and you'd have half of them that are stubborn, that are still using quarters and dollar coins, and they're by default going to see other customers having a much easier experience, right? I'm standing next to an 80, Carla's standing next to an 80. I put in $40 in quarters, have to take a break, my arm cramps, I'm massaging it, all this stuff. She walks up and goes beep, 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 and hits start and walks away. She's over here reading her book for 10 minutes while I'm still putting quarters in the washer. And part of what we wanted to do is rather than us debating and arguing and forcing our customers into this modernized payment system, we just wanted them to very naturally watch each other do it. Mm-hmm. And the good news is all that worked to a T. It worked exactly like we thought it would. Now, one thing I will say before we move on, Carla, is there's a cost for doing that, right? Because one of the negatives that I don't hear talk about a lot with hybrid payment systems is you have to buy them all. You got to maintain them all. You have the unit on the machine, the penny reader or whatever, the device in the machine. Those get damaged. They get broken. They get gummy if you're swiping them or whatever. They disconnect. You got to reconnect them. So you have to maintain those. And then you still have a coin mechanism, which can jam up and can get lint in the dryer, coin jams and different things like that. You have to maintain all of those, but you have to buy all those. Mm-hmm. So when you have a coin mech go bad, you literally have multiple forms of payment that you have to do maintenance on and repairs on versus just one loyalty card system, couple kiosks and one reader on the machine. And everything goes through that one thing when you eliminate those.
Just playing devil's advocate to what you said about there is the additional expense of the upkeep of multiple systems. If one breaks down, though, you have a backup.
100%.
Like if you only have a loyalty card system and your loyalty card system goes down, you don't have any other way for the customers to pay. So there is that other side of it is, yes, there's more systems to maintain, but there's also backup systems if something were to break. If that card reader goes bad, they can still put coins in your coin mech or whatever. Yep. This was very much a trial for us. Going hybrid is to see, how our customers reacted to the other ways to pay. And what we saw was pleasantly surprised. They were very embracing of the loyalty card system and of the credit cards and debit cards and all that kind of stuff. And it did help us to see, okay, in our other stores, could we go coinless? Is that a possibility? Because another thing, the hybrid doesn't take away some of those issues we talked about in the beginning for switching to a modernized payment system. In our hybrid system, we still have collections. So there's that security issue. There's that time constraint of going and collecting. Now, granted, once you add other ways to pay, you don't typically have to collect as often. Your coin boxes aren't filling up as often, but you still do have that constraint where if you go completely coinless, collections among the store go away. Even if you're taking cash into your kiosk or whatever, a lot of times those are rear loading where you can be in your own private office collecting, not walking around in the open store. So there's definitely some increased security of moving to completely coinless. So hybrid was definitely an easy transition for our customers. It was an expense. It didn't take away all the problems with having coins, but it left that option for customers and it did lessen the collections. But it helped us to see that we could go coinless finally.
Is your laundromat ready to become the neighborhood's #1 choice? LaundroBoost has proven strategies to help your business flourish.
I think we saw changes pretty quick before that 4-month range. I'm in that 4-month range now, and we're seeing changes left and right. I mean, pickup and delivery clients, drop-off clients, self-service clients, businesses up as a whole.
Literally, it was shocking to watch the numbers jump. I wish I could go back and I could begin to track these things, which I had done, to see what percentage growth we had, but it wasn't unusual to go up 30% per month.
At LaundroBoost, we specialize in fueling laundromat growth. Through targeted Google ads and powerful social media campaigns, we make your location stand out and attract loyal customers. Ready to level up your laundromat? Visit laundroboostmarketing.com and book a call with us for a free consultation.
So just recently, let's see, has it even been a year yet?
Not quite a year.
Not quite a year. We did our first store completely coinless. Well, we say completely coinless, but it's not. And that's what we want to talk about next is going completely coinless. What happens? How do you make it work? How do you keep your customers from just revolting and walking out the door because they don't like change? And this was something that we did very carefully. Put a lot of thought into.
Had a lot of conversations because we know a lot of laundromat owners that already were coinless and hey, what worked and what didn't work. Because once again, back in 2015, when we switched to dollar coins, that was a temporary measure. We knew we were going to be here someday, and I wanted to learn. So what we want to do in the second half of this episode is share with you all the little nuances that we've learned and how well it worked for us and kind of some of the investment that we made and whether we, regret that investment or whatever. When she says our first store, it's actually our third store. That the first two have hybrid payment systems in it. We had 2 stores that were dollar coin only, and we took one of those stores, instead of putting a hybrid system in, we decided, you know what, rather than putting 2 more hybrid systems in, we think it's time. And by the way, I'll talk about this real quickly, Carla. Part of the reason we decided to do that was store 3, and sometime soon in 2026, we're going to do store 4. Part of the reason we decided to do that is because the adoption at the hybrid stores where they could choose any option was as high as 65%. And so when we gave all of our customers across 2 stores the choice of paying any which way they want, really what I didn't really care about phone pay or loyalty card or whatever. It was real simple. Did they want to use coins, meaning dollar coins, or did they not? And in only 35% of the case, they were choosing dollar coins. Now that's still a big number, right? So when we decided to do this in store 3, we were still taking a little bit of a risk, and we did some things to mitigate that risk that we'll talk about too.
The first thing we did is communication.
Yes.
We're talking advertising in the store that the change is coming, advertising on social media that the change is coming, letting customers know that this shift is going to happen, and teaching them that it's not scary, talking to them, selling it to them about how much easier it will be, all the options they'll have. Because when we switched, we didn't switch to just a loyalty card or just phone pay or anything like that. Though we were coinless, we did switch specifically for us to the cents penny readers, which will take the debit cards, the credit cards directly at the machine. And then they also take the LaundroWorks loyalty cards at the machine. So at the kiosk, they can purchase a loyalty card with credit, debit, or cash. At the actual machines, they can pay directly with credit or debit or the loyalty card. So we still had options. It's just no longer did we have the coin mechs and putting coins directly into the machine. So that was the only piece that we were really taking away.
The next thing that we did is when we say we're coinless, we're telling you we're coinless because you know what that phrase means, but we don't use that phrase on our website. We don't use that on social media.
Not in our stores.
Not in our stores. We don't allow our attendants to say we got rid of coins. And the reason why is because we still accept coins at the counter. You know, some people just come into a laundromat and they expect to pay with quarters, or in our case, sometimes even dollar coins nowadays. And we didn't want to be inflexible and say, oh, sorry, we don't take coins anymore.
You don't want to turn any customer away.
Yeah. Do we really want to take coins? Of course not. And there might be a day 5 years from now when we don't take them even over the counter. But we wanted to give them, once again, this boil a frog approach of you walk in. So now what we say is, oh, the machines don't take coins. But yeah, we absolutely take coins. So even if you call like our AI call center and things like that, it's trained not to say that this store doesn't take coins. Oh, we absolutely take coins. We accept coins at the counter, right? And that's one of those nuances that we thought was really important. And what we've learned is we were right, especially when we first switched. We closed for 3 days and then opened back up. And so when we opened back up, we were quote unquote coinless at the machine. Every customer that walked in the door, we had attendants there to give them a tour and things like that. And the first thing we said is, hey, we've modernized our payment system, but don't worry, everything's way easier than it used to be. Let me show you how it works. Sometimes the response would be, wait, so you don't take quarters anymore? You don't take coins anymore? And our attendants and our staff were trained. Oh, we absolutely take coins. Did you bring coins with you today? Yeah, I did. Okay, let me show you what you do with those from now on when you come in here. You're welcome to bring coins every time you come in here. And all you have to do is just go up to the counter and we'll exchange those for a card. Talk about overcoming probably the biggest obstacle that we've ever had. And once again, will we do this forever? No. Will we do this for a pretty long period of time? Yes. And one thing I will fast forward and share with you, and then we'll back up a little, is like Carla said, we're only like roughly 8 or 9 months into this system. And my employees told me the other day, we kept a bucket in the back that would have like a till. When we first started this process and we're taking coins over the counter, we were getting insane. I mean, thousands of dollars a week in coins because people didn't know that the machines didn't take coins anymore. Now that number is down by 95%. So in 8 months, people learn, oh, we take coins, but the machines don't take coins. And so what did they stop doing naturally? Not by our force. They just stopped bringing them. We'll take them if they want to bring them. And so I thought that was really interesting because once again, we didn't force their hand. We happily accepted them, and we expected it to take 2 or 3 years before we could kind of almost get rid of that bucket. And it's still there. But I mean, every payroll period when we audit that bucket, I mean, it's like $100 in there, which is like basically nothing. So my point is that's one of the things we did to be very flexible, overcome objections, overcome people's skepticism to the system. All these things are little nuances and little details that, especially if you're fully attended, we would encourage you to do.
Dave talked about it briefly, but I want to go a little more in depth when he talked about the transition. So we actually closed our store for 3 days as all the machines, the cents penny readers and the LaundroWorks kiosks were installed on the machines and all that kind of stuff. We did it during the middle of the week, which is a slow time. Plenty of, signage and everything, letting customers know when this was going to be coming, all that. But what he talked about is when we reopened, the staff giving them a tour. That's another thing we did for the first 2 weeks after the transition, is having extra staffing at the store. We're always fully staffed, fully attended, but a lot of times that'll be 1, maybe 2 people on staff. We overdid it with a lot of extra people on staff so that anybody coming through was being greeted and given a tour of the new system. Another thing we did within the store was very clear signage, bright, colorful with pictures. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll insert some pictures of the signage we used, but a lot of signage showing customers the different payment options and how to use each one. We also had handouts available that were bilingual. We do get some customers, most of our customers are English speaking, but we do get some Spanish speaking customers. So we also had the instructions on there bilingually so that anyone could read them.
Yeah. And the idea behind that is for the first 2 weeks, which isn't a magic number, but I believe that most of our self-serve customers, I'll use the anecdotally 90%, either use this weekly or biweekly, right? There are certainly people that don't do that, but most of our self-serve customer base, that's the case. So I wanted to hit a 2-week period of time where anyone that uses this weekly or biweekly would come in. And what I wanted is when they walked in the door, I wanted every single one of them to be greeted. And I wanted every single one of them to have their hand held for as long as it took. If it took 15 minutes, so be it. Hold their hand, show them the new payment system, explain how great it is, right? Take them over to the kiosk, show them how to use it, let them do that themselves, answer any questions they have, walk them over to the first washer, and actually help them start the machine for the first time, right? Once the washer started, then the attendant could say, do you have any other questions for us? It's basically the same thing on the dryers. If you ever need to load more money on your card, you just go back to the kiosk. Super easy to do, put your card back in, et cetera, et cetera. What we did is the first week, we had 4 attendants on duty at all times. Now, sometimes one of those was a manager, but we had 4 staff members, I should say, on duty at one time. And on the weekends, we had 5, right? So we're talking a significant amount of payroll. And for those of you that maybe don't have that in your budget, I'm not saying you have to do that, but we've heard, in the industry, we've heard some rare situations where people installed a card, spent $50,000 on a card system, put it in their store, took their coins out, Coinmex out, and maybe they're unattended, and they just left the customers to fend for themselves. Another thing we wanted to do with the training and everything was not lose the counter service, right? We're big on customer service. So we didn't want them to be so distracted by giving tours and showing them how to use the kiosk that no one was available to actually provide customer service for every other aspect of the business. Now, of course, another thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want our stores to become dirty all of a sudden, right? Because all the attendants were busy showing them how to use a kiosk. And then the last thing I'll share with you on the training is we spent some extra time training our management staff, which is 6 people. So we trained our management staff pretty extensively on the kiosk and the card system and how it works at our other stores. Remember, we have hybrids. And then the day before we opened, as we're finishing up all the little screws and nuts and bolts and wires on the system, we had a manager meeting. And we brought our GM, our assistant GM, and the store manager for that store. We brought them all over with all the attendants from that store. And they spent about 3 hours starting washers and dryers. Part of it was kind of a soft opening to make sure everything worked, but part of it was to train them. So,
and train them how to train the customers.
Yes.
Because there's a big part of,
Yes.
not going to the machine and being like, okay, so this is kind of annoying, but,
Right.
Selling it to them. Like,
Yes.
this is going to be so much easier. This is a great system,
gonna
keeping
love
that attitude.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure. And all those little nuances, all those little idiosyncrasies of, like I said, they walk in the door and they go, oh, wait, so you don't take coins anymore? Oh, we absolutely take coins, right? When we were talking about this in the training, our GM actually said, as we're kind of role playing, our GM actually said, so we don't take coins anymore. And I'm like, stop. Don't ever say that again. Don't anyone ever say that again, unless the day comes where we literally don't accept coins anymore. So once again, these are some of the nuances that we think, do you decide to do it? When do you decide to do it? How much staffing do you need? These will all determine how successful you are in adapting and getting your community to adopt this thing. So one of the things I do want to share with you, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little, so we have more to the episode, don't go anywhere yet, is I think you'll find really interesting that it might sound a little crazy how overboard we went with all those different things. Man, you spent an extra $7,000 on staffing, Dave, just to make sure it was adopted, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, we did do all these things. But one thing I thought I'd share with you is we're not even a year in yet, and we've been able to compare Q3 of 2025 to Q3 of 2024, and sales are up 18%. And I think the thing that's interesting there that we should always look at when we're doing like data analysis and A/B testing and things like that is we should always look at it through the lens of, yeah, but what else did you do? Well, we intentionally didn't do anything else at the same time we put this card system in, because as you know, we take our role as kind of thought leaders in the industry and sharing with you all. We want to share with you very accurate data. We didn't have a dog in the hunt. We wanted our customers to adopt it, of course. But, whether this happened or we don't sell card systems. So, I mean, whether you take one or don't take one is irrelevant to us. We want to share real hard data with you because we feel like that's one of the things our industry is missing. Sometimes when they sell card systems and things, they'll say, oh, we have many customers that, their sales increased. Okay, well, I need to understand what they did. And
what did they do to make them increase? Is that the only thing they
exactly
did?
Right.
How much did they increase by?
Yeah. So that's what we try to do when we make these changes and we share them in a podcast with you like this. I just thought you'd be interested to know we made no other changes. We've owned this store for over 15 years. It had plateaued. Other than just inflation, it hadn't really grown in a solid 5 or 6 years, if not more. In some cases from COVID, this particular store actually took a little bit of a hit. So it was actually down a little bit from 5 or 6 years ago. So 18% is nothing to sneeze at. And there's many factors to that, but we really believe this modernized payment system and the extra training that goes into it and the positive psychology around it and all these things are a big reason why.
Well, and our customer feedback has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Customers love it. I know our managers did tell us that we did have one older gentleman that was upset at the change, and he said, forget this, and walked out. And then about a week later, he came back to do his laundry quietly.
Real quiet. Yep, that's exactly right.
So really, we've had no pushback from customers. Customers love it. It's been a very positive change. And like Dave mentioned, next we're looking forward to doing this to our 4th location as well. So all to say the switch to Coinless, though we're not Coinless, Coinless at the machine. Don't yell at me, Dave. The switch has been very positive. One thing we do want to talk about, though, is with our system, we're not just a loyalty card. We do have a loyalty card, which is great because once we get the 4th store as well, our locations are all fairly close together on the east side of Cincinnati. So our customers will be able to easily use that card at all 4 locations. Right now, they can use it at 3 of the 4. But the loyalty card system, another bonus with the loyalty card system that a lot of people in the industry talk about is the float. And we don't just offer a loyalty card system. And if that's the only system you want to offer, you're going to get more float. But sometimes customers know your customers. Some customers might be more resistant to using that loyalty card. So we do have the credit and debit card at the machine as well. But if you want to go completely loyalty card or even just offer it as an option for your customers like we do, we have found some incentives that help your customers switch to a loyalty card. One that we use is the big dollar bonus. So we use it specifically for if they want to buy a loyalty card with cash, because we're saving on the credit card fees when they use cash, and they get basically a 25% bonus. So if they do $20 in, they get $25 on their card. If they do $50 in, then they get $60 on their card, and so on. So that's a great incentive. That increases your float. Another reason to maybe incentivize them is that you can get their information for promotions and possibly loyalty rewards that you can give on their cards by having them actually register the card. Now, our customers aren't currently required to register their cards, but we do incentivize them to register their cards, because if they are to lose their card, if it's registered, they can get that card back, basically with the value on it, where if they don't register it, we don't have any way of knowing what their card was. It's just gone. So you get to collect some of that data that you can use for promotions and things like that. Another way to incentivize them is giving them free cards. Now, I will say there is a cost to order the cards for the loyalty card system, but at least starting out, our plan is at least the first 6 months to give cards freely. No charge for cards. I know some people out there do charge $1, $2, $5, whatever it is, for the card to initially put that value on it. we want to incentivize our customers to go the loyalty card route. So at this time, we are not charging anything for those cards. Another advantage of the loyalty card is that they can use it anywhere. It also helps if they can also use it at your vending. This was part of what led us to moving our vending. If you've seen our newsletter, if not, go online and sign up for our newsletter. We do have a biweekly newsletter where we send out little bits about what we've learned in the laundry industry to share with you, written by Dave. But if you've read our newsletter, we talked about how recently we switched from vending machines to over-the-counter vending. And that also allows us to use their loyalty cards for vending, or also for us, drop off and even pick up and delivery services. So there's a lot of incentives to get them to that loyalty card system if that's the only system you want. For us, we have those incentives because we'd like them to use the loyalty card system because it does give you that float.
Another thing I want to point out to people, because we may get there someday, we haven't really decided. But you can charge for the cards, as Carla mentioned. That always causes a little bit of a stink. But one of the things I've heard that's done that we probably will adopt someday when we stop doing free cards is, rather than charging them for it, just kind of charging a deposit, right? And what we mean by that is, let's say the card costs $1.25 or something. When they buy a card through a kiosk, they put $25 on a card, it's going to cost them $27. Okay. Maybe we take a $2 deposit, and then at any point that they want, we will, if they bring that card up to us and give that card back to us, we'll give them the $2. We'll give them the deposit back. And I know, once again, not our idea. I know many people that do this very successfully, and it's a really good kind of middle ground between quote unquote charging for a card and giving it away for free. Because the truth is, a lot of people aren't going to bring their cards back. Well, if the card costs you $1.20 and you charge $2, you're going to make 80 cents on some of them. The people that do bring them back, either the balance is zero or you wipe it off to zero and just reuse the card, right? And so the idea is, even with the charging for it or even with the deposit, is to get people to just not see the cards as not having no value. So I know people that have done that very successfully. And when we get to the non-free section, that's probably something we're going to do as some type of deposit. So we're technically charging for the card, but we're also kind of not charging for the card. You can always get your $2 at any back at any time.
So that really leads us into the final part of this episode, which is what's next. So obviously we've already talked about this. At first we switched to dollar coins, then we went hybrid, and now we have card only store. So what's next for us? Well, our next would be getting them all on card only eventually. But we do have 2 hybrid stores. So we have 1 card only, and it's getting that 4th, which is currently coin only, but dollar coins, to card only. So we'll probably operate it for a while with 2 hybrid and 2 card only, but we'll see. The other thing that we're looking into is obviously moving all of our vending to accept those loyalty cards so that our customers can use their loyalty cards for any products or services in all of our locations. And then finally looking into some of those promotional type things. Now that we're collecting all of these emails with the loyalty cards, is giving them, maybe some loyalty points or bonus points or different promotions. So really taking advantage of that extra contact that we're getting with those loyalty cards.
And something that Carla hasn't covered today that I'll just go ahead and throw out there. One of the things we're kind of waiting on and kind of keeping in our back pocket, and it's partially loyalty and partially kind of adoption, is once we have all 4 stores that accept loyalty cards, once we get to 4th store to quote unquote Coinless, we're going to do double your money promotion across all 4 stores. We haven't decided for how long, but it's going to be up to $250. So if you put $250 on a card, you get $500 credit, right? If you put $50 on a card, you're going to get $100 credit. And we're going to do that for all 4 stores. And as she mentioned, they can use any card at any store. So we're going to buy their loyalties to a certain extent. And we have friends in the industry that have more than 4 stores, and they do that regularly. Like every year they do that type of thing, or special occasions or customer appreciation week, or they do it in the summer when times are slow and try to, build up that float, right? Type of thing. But that's something we're kind of holding in our back pocket, and we're going to do once we get all 4 stores online, which should be sometime in 2026.
So hopefully you found this episode helpful, whether you're getting ready to open your first laundromat or you're about to open your 20th laundromat. But helping you to navigate this very confusing modernization of payment system, whatever that might look like for you and your community and your business. There's so many different ways to pay, and hopefully we've helped you navigate this deciding which form of payment is right for your business, and how to add it to your business without losing any customers. So that's the hope for today's episode. As always, Dave and I are here for you, and definitely check out laundromatmillionaire.com for all of our different services that we offer, many of them free. And we will see you next time from the Laundromat Millionaire Show, sponsored by HM Company at draintroths.com. Take care.